Good morning, Titans. How's everybody doing today? That I thought was a pretty nice little epic music intro. What do you think, David?
Absolutely, man. First time I've heard it. I love it. Great
Gotta get
job, man.
some more hyped. Way better than the holy music we had that was going on before. That kind of a little bit of a snooze fest. But
Yeah,
we'll bring yeah,
yeah.
we'll bring up the creators of that a little later in the Titan talk. Because that was pretty awesome content. But how you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I am. It's been a full last 2 months, really. Where a lot of new things, a lot of things being developed, a lot of discoveries being made. It's a lot of stuff going on. All of it good. So I'm doing really well, man. I'm doing well. How are you feeling? I know, unfortunately, you're sick again. How you feeling, man?
I'm hanging in there. For those of you that don't know, but I mean, hey, we're a whole community. I tested positive for COVID, but I'm kicking strong. I'm going forward as best as I
Mm.
can here. My voice is a little cracky, but I got my naked juice here, and I'm ready to keep slurping it
Mm.
down to keep it nice and good to go. But yeah, doing
Fantastic.
good. Lots being
Fantastic.
worked on. Community, of course, is incredible as always. Love seeing all the questions and of course the excitement that gears around all these Titan talks. So super happy for that there. But yeah, I'm excited to dive in. Um, Kind of go
Yeah.
through some things, some questions, some roadmap stuff. But yeah, I guess talk a
Excellent,
little
man.
bit if you're cool. Yeah,
Excellent. Yeah, man. I'm here and excited as always, and to be, a member of this Titan community, the most amazing community in crypto. So yeah, man, let's do it. Why don't we start off Summit with kind of laying out what we're going to do during this Titan talk, the subjects and areas we're
100%.
going to cover.
100%. So, as all of you guys know, as far as Titan Talks go, we try and keep them nice and condensed, but a good amount of informative information, the best type of information, right? Um, so we're gonna start off with really talking about like a roadmap. What are the looks of Titano and Switch and everything going in the future? Some new features and things that are coming out. We're gonna talk about something new that's on that roadmap called an
Mm.
insurance fund.
Wow.
And then, of course, we're also going to talk about some stuff as far as like transparency on funds. We've had a lot of questions about things like LP, things like expenses and such like that. And then
Mm.
we're also going to have kind of end it off with marketing and then bring on board some of our internal marketing team, kind of show the world what some of our marketing team is doing and how they're helping to benefit Titano and Switch and everything going forward. And then we'll open it up to a few questions that we've seen or at least any questions that weren't answered while we were going along through the Titan Talk here. But yeah,
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. If I may, can I please just put a little bit of a context on things to kind of bring us into the topics of this discussion?
of
So
course,
we
of
know that
course.
we're, thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. So we all know that we're in a bear market. And what a bear market means is not just that things are down, right? Its sentiment has changed. I've said to people that a good majority of the people in crypto, the investors in crypto have left, right? It's upwards of 2/3 of the people. We're down 2/3 in terms of our market cap. We were at 3.2 trillion. I think we're at somewhere around 800 billion at this point. So, more than 65%, 70% has left this marketplace. And historically, this is normal. And the projects that have a chance to survive tend to follow a similar pattern, that have a chance to survive through these types of crypto winters, have a similar pattern in that, they're able to, keep their community around and they focus on building, um, utilizing what they learned during the crypto summer and applying some of that to, to then build things for the coming crypto summer. So Titano has done that, right? And it's embarked on this major undertaking of really redefining and repositioning the project. And it's always difficult when you change from one thing, or transform is probably a better word, from one thing to another. It brings on fear, it brings on uncertainty, it brings on questioning. All questions are great, but the thing that has to be done is you've got to continue pushing through. I get a lot of questions and comments around how Titano is positioning itself, and the reasonings and rationales behind why certain things are done and how money is spent or not spent. And I'm constantly saying that another thing that happened in these crypto winters is projects need to be cautious, right? You got to be careful. You've got a limited amount of money. You know that funds aren't going to be coming in the way they have been. You know that people aren't going to be as receptive to use cases as they have been. So you've got to be cautious and careful about how you spend the money. So in that environment, Titano has been pivoting. And pivoting means offering additional ways for there to be revenue generation, token burning opportunities, ways to bring in new holders. And what people are seeing, will continue to see consistently more and more of, is that happening. So in that, another important part I mentioned as the first thing is managing the relationship with the community. And under that heading, a lot of this Titan talk is about creating a stronger bond with the community, offering more transparency to the community, giving community more of an insight of what some of the things that we're all talking about and looking to implement. So that's the context for this particular Titan talk. And as someone said, you guys will get to interact with and meet some Titans who are part of the Titano internal marketing team. You'll hear from them yourselves. And we're happy to offer all of this information under the heading of, again, more transparency, more cohesiveness as a group, and to get you guys excited about what's coming. Thank you, Summit.
Thank you, David. And a few people were saying the mic was going a little bit in and out on your connection
Oh,
there. So
yeah,
maybe just
my
adjusting it just a
apologies.
little bit.
Yeah, my apologies, guys. I'm actually running this through my phone, which I've never done before because I've had some issues here. If it gets or stays bad, I will switch over to my desktop. So just let me know.
Sure thing, sure thing. All right.
Okay,
So
got it.
yeah, let's jump on into it. I guess we'll talk about our first subject here, and that's kind of just like a new roadmap or a clearer image on what we're looking for things as far as how Titano's looking, what we're looking going forward on our endeavors, what's next, stuff like that. Now, I know as far as roadmap wise, one of the biggest things that we look at is Switch and kind of the Switch ecosystem, the Titano ecosystem, all of that together, because that's one of our key features. It has a lot of potential to grow, and it can really help out Titano by generating fees, great marketing, things like that. So one thing that we want to look at with the roadmap is some just first off some things that are going on with like I guess UI and UX updates as far as Switch goes. So as many of you know, we're already working on a dark mode. I guess that's not a huge surprise to a lot of people, but that is one major thing upcoming next that we should be seeing. I would say probably within the coming month or so. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard estimate to say, but yeah, I would say that's definitely there. We recently released auto tax. That was kind of an exciting drop that happened just before the first project was launched on Switch, Unico, of course. So auto tax is now officially on Switch as well, and you can take advantage and use that. But another exciting thing that's coming on there is a Switch landing page. So with that Switch landing page, it'll be a nicer, easier way to introduce people to the Switch like main website, have easier access to different parts of the website, easier interface, something a lot more easier to use for beginners, for people who are new to crypto. Because I think it's safe to say that most people who are watching these Titan talks or taking part in Titan or anything like that, we're all very comfortable with crypto, right? But we're also looking at people who are newer to the crypto space. So making it as easy and as straightforward as possible is something that we're really looking to do. So we're creating landing pages, better UI updates, things like that, sidebar adjustments, and everything that goes on there. Of course, we also have, farming and such and charts that are coming out. These are things that have not been, forgotten. They are still very much around the corner. So those are definitely things that are happening as well. I don't know if you want to explore some more things, David. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think those are good. A lot of things relating to Switch. By the way, can someone please let me know? I'm being told that my mic is really not good. Can someone let me know if I'm coming through more clearly? If I'm not, I am prepared to switch over to a different laptop. So can someone send a message and let me know? John, can you hear me clearly?
It's a little popcorny, I guess the terminology would be used.
Okay, then somebody let me do this. Let me re-enter. Can you just re-enter me? Give me 45 seconds and I'll re-enter from a
Yeah,
different device.
of course, of course.
Okay, you got it, man.
All right,
All right,
all
and
right.
and in the meantime, you can do a dance and do your thing.
All right.
All right, I'll be right back.
So, so while David comes back, I guess we'll talk some more about things that are being worked on as far as the Switch side. So, we've obviously had our first project, Unico, that was launched. I want to say a little over or close to 2 weeks ago. Another big thing that we are working on here, of course, is getting more projects listed. An exciting feat that's been taken, of course, is making a more public test net. So projects are starting to get prepared to get ready to launch as we start to look towards, I guess you could say, inviting, opening the doors a little bit more up to Switch to get some more excitement and more people listed on the project. So as we do that, we're opening up, test nets and things like that for people to test and use and get their projects ready to go ahead and get launched on Switch. Um, as far as other things that are being worked on, of course, you guys know that we have recently paused both lottery and last block. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that many of you have given a crazy amount of feedback to both of them. As far as lottery goes, a lot of the feedback came from, hey, the prize is small, the ticket prices are high. What is the incentive to go into lottery? So we're looking into better ways to make lottery more enticing, more exciting, and things like that. So as we find ways to make lottery
Can
more
you
exciting for the
guys?
user base. Oh, we got you back, David.
Hey,
Um,
all right,
there we go. I was just talking about some
all
stuff
right,
like lottery and last block. I was just saying, as we were looking towards making lottery more exciting, of course, lottery works really great with a large community, and we do very
right,
much have a large community. But we have to find a way to make the prize pool both sustainable and, of course,
right.
larger for people to take part in. Um, Another thing
Mm,
is Last Block. With Last
right,
Block, we launched it. We definitely heard feedback, and its first thing we're not scared to admit that at its initial launch, adjustments needed to be made.
right.
So with those adjustments that are being made, we're excited to redo Last Block, launch it, and get it out for all of you to take part in. As far as what those adjustments will look like as we get closer to getting ready to relaunch it and taking the feedback that everybody's provided, we'll inform all of you. But since we just paused them for now, we're really in a feedback phase. So please,
Mm,
if you haven't already, send feedback, send some ideas on what you guys would like to see it adjusted to, and we would love to act on things like that there. And then, David, I also
right.
talked a little bit about like testnet routers because I know we've had plenty of projects come up to us and say, "Hey, we're ready to go. We want to get that testnet ready." And recently, we started getting those testnet routers for other projects that started wanting to get listed and things like that. So, kind of talked about that a little bit and how we're bringing on, getting ready to bring on more and more projects and things like that there. But yeah, that's kind of where I was leaving off
Excellent,
on.
excellent, excellent. Are you hearing me okay now? Is my voice coming through clearly?
I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah. So I just wanted to add a little something regarding the use cases. You mentioned last block and the lottery. And one of the things that I've said is people have provided input, feedback about, this could be made better, that could be made better. there are there's always an ability to do a quick fix, but when a project is launched, part of the reason why it takes time to develop is it's an ecosystem in and of itself. How it works, all the different elements of it, and ultimately what the agendas and goals are for the project. Right? Ultimately, they're made to be projects that Titans can interact with. If it's a game type project, you enjoy yourself. But the real goal of the project is to bring revenue into Titano, it's to provide burning opportunities, and all of that is really aligned or created based on the different elements of a project. So sometimes it's easy to change one element, and sometimes changing one element changes everything. And this has been the case, for example, when you talk about last block, where people were saying, well, just make the blocks shorter and make the timeline shorter, the timer shorter, or have fewer blocks, all those sorts of things. It changes the dynamics of the game and ultimately changes what ends up coming out of the game, right? The takeaways from the game. And in a market where, as we've been in, where things are changing, it becomes even more complicated. So what the guys have decided, by the way, we also saw this with the lottery. So what the guys have decided is, let's kind of rethink how these things work based on a lot of the feedback that we're getting, and recreate an entire ecosystem around these changes. So that's what's happening with Last Block and Lottery. It's not just oh, we need to change the price of the ticket, or we need to change the block size or the time. It's the entire games themselves and how they work to ensure that the outcomes that we want occur. I just wanted to add that to give some additional
Yeah.
insight into what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, we made some small adjustments. I want to say after the whole Binance chain, saw a little craziness going on there. But like you said, David,
Right.
when you're trying to change the core mechanics of the game midway through a game, it just doesn't give us enough time to test things, to
Right.
perfect it, to make sure
Mm.
it works the way that we want it to. And we realize that. So, for the time being, it's being paused until we can go ahead and fix it in the way that we envision it to be. And now
Right.
that that's
Mm.
going, we're taking the time to do that. I'm sure it's going to come back out. It's going to be a hit and it's going to be great. But of course, we're taking feedback. We're going through there. But as far as other things that are coming, I guess we could lead this into our next part. If you want me to bring
Absolutely.
up
Let's
that
do it.
next. Awesome. So one of the other exciting things that's coming in here, and you heard me talk a little bit of it towards the beginning, is an insurance fund.
Mm.
So a lot of people may be asking what an insurance fund is, and it really pertains towards Switch. Okay. So what that insurance fund is going to do is it assures that anybody who faces losses in the Switch ecosystem due to things like hacks, exploits, a drain on the LP, things like that, will get a refund based on the amount held by the insurance fund. So essentially, what we're
Mm.
doing is for projects that are getting listed on Switch, things like that, we're providing a level of security to investors, so they're not losing any type
Mm.
of initial investments or anything like that. Um, I think that's super exciting because in a
I
crypto
do
market
too.
where you never know what's going to happen, you have code is code. People will always find ways to get around XYZ types of things. Okay. And if anybody finds something, having that backup, that level of safety and security behind that investment is amazing. Of course, we can also, vet and look into projects as much as we possibly want to. You never know what the people behind a project are really thinking or what their plans are. So having that backup in case a liquidity pool gets drained or something along those lines is again another security feature for something that's related to Switch. I personally have been affected by things like this in plenty of projects, and I'm sure
Mm.
many of you have as well. Now, of course, that insurance fund gets funded to a certain degree, to a certain level. How much it will be depends on, fees, how much gets put in. I guess, if there's any additional streams of revenue that we have that can fund that insurance fund, things like that. I don't know if you want to
Right.
dive a little bit more into this than I can go on.
Yeah, the guys are working out the details of it. But again, what it's designed to do is, as you said, offer a layer of protection for people that are getting involved with projects that are on Switch. That's really what it's designed to do. And in this particular marketplace, and with so many rug pulls and so many, hacks and things like that, this is an option the guys came up with, that they said it's a great thing in terms of allowing investors to have more assurity. All the details will be released in the next few days. So there'll be an announcement about it and all the details about it. But again, it's something that is a response to both the Titans and also the market conditions currently. So along those lines, what you're going to see as well is these types of things. Like, for example, Summit, a lot of Titans have reached out and said, hey, there needs to be some sort of rewards or some sort of additional benefit given to Titans that have been a part of Titanos for a long period of time. So these things are being worked on as well. And this kind of falls under that as well. You've been here, you want to have a level of security or older levels, a level of security. So this insurance fund adds to that.
100%, 100%. And I think, yeah, more information is going to come in soon. It's not something
Yes.
that all the details will be spread on right now. Um,
Right.
the one thing I will say is, of course, an insurance fund is something that you know will vary in depending on how much money it has in that insurance fund. Um,
Right.
but again, more info will come out soon. We're very
Right.
excited to bring this out there, though. I think it's going to be phenomenal for the Switch ecosystem. Now more than ever, Switch is looking like the best, decentralized exchange on the market. We're already burning tokens. We're already making, a launch, or we already have a launch pad that, directs you straight over to Switch. Now we have an insurance fund. Everything is looking
Right.
great for it. So we're super excited for things like that.
Yeah,
Um,
and remember, I'm sorry, Summit. I just wanted to say this is under the heading of providing more information about the things that are going on. So as we do this, right, Titans, keep in mind every single detail won't be available when we talk about it, right? We've been on a path of before we say anything, we want every single detail. And as a result, and I agree, people have said at times, this is slow. You guys aren't giving us enough information. So we're going to start providing more information, but just be mindful that in some cases, every single detail won't be worked out, but the subject matter itself is worked out. So as new information comes in, new details, we'll just share that information as it comes through, and it'll create um, additional engagement with the community. So under the heading of that, we're talking about this insurance fund.
100%.
Hmm.
Awesome. I don't know if there's any more that you wanted to add to that, unless you wanted to go into our next section here.
Please, let's go. Let's move on.
Let's move on, move it forward. Here we go. All right. So the next section that we're going to be diving into is as far as funds, transparency, things like that. We've
Right,
seen a lot of
right,
questions that go on with that. Specifically, a lot of
right,
questions as
mm,
far as LP removals. What are you guys using your money and expenses towards, and things like that.
right,
I think it's
right, mm,
important to preface by saying that we're happy to talk about what some of those expenses look like, give some numbers, but it won't be like an itemized of everything. But we are
right,
happy to talk about what some of that looks like. Now, I
right,
know that
mm,
there was a lot of information going around about $1.3 million that was liquidity removed and things like that. Why is it liquidity removed? What goes on with things like that? So as far as liquidity removals, when Switch is gathering its fees, when we're getting just money that's coming through Titano or anything like that, rather than going directly to the treasury, the money is just pulled out and directly used for expenses. As far as expenses goes, over the past, I want to say roughly 6 months, if not a little bit longer than that, the expenses have kind of or touched near $1 million, and that breakdown can be as followed. You have staff payments, you have development costs, marketing costs, things like that.
right,
Now, more
mm,
importantly, you also have TSP, that also has a dedicated faucet within the LP and things like that. Each month, from TSP, staff payments, developments, things like that, all of that is close to around $100,000 out of the $1 million in total that or close to $1 million as far as funds. That's also not including the development fees that were used to create some of the other utilities, to pay for a lot of the Switch rewrites and hiring on the marketing agency and things there. So
right. And
it all
well,
does.
I'm sorry, Sumit.
Oh yeah, go on, please.
I'm sorry, Sumit. In addition to that, that's not the marketing costs themselves, right? So that's people. And right now, I think we've got about 25 people on Titano.
Yes.
So it's a big team. And yeah, so all of those costs, and as we looked at them, because again, everyone's seen the guys, they've all seen these comments. And so we've been talking about it and trying to, okay, let's take a look at everything. So yeah, there are a lot of expenses every month, but that's not out of the normal. I've seen some comments, that's really abnormal. It really isn't with this size of a team and the things that Titano's doing, development and marketing and all these things. So I just wanted to add that to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, already right there, 25 team members a month, okay, already is a big chunk, okay? That's
Right,
not even accounting for TSP that we were using and funding out of that. That's not accounting for marketing advertisement that's there. That's not accounting for the occasional hired on devs that get brought on and things
correct,
like that there. So
correct,
additional fees can come out from that there. And that's what really starts to total up. Of course, some of those bigger expenses were also bigger things that were done, so rather than, when it's, hey, it's 100K a month, sometimes it can be a little bit more because, hey, we brought on three more hired devs, or hey, we paid for more marketing, or hey, we had to
right.
get XYZ, things like that there. So all of those fees add up. And when you're talking 100K a month over the course of 6 months, that's $600,000 a month without even including, the one off situations here and there. So
Mm,
the fees rack up a lot faster. Now, a lot of people had questions as far as why is it through the LP? Why is it not going through the treasury? And I think we've explained a little bit before. As far as the treasury goes,
mm,
that treasury is really for um, bigger investments. Okay.
right.
So when you're looking at things like incubating Unico, okay, when you want to pull $1 million to incubate Unico, okay, that's where a nice treasury comes into place. If we were to
Mm,
pull $1 million from generated fees, that's not something that's that done that quickly.
right.
So it
Mm,
takes having that treasury there to just be able to take money and use it towards other investments or larger size investments. That's what happens
right.
on that. As
Yeah.
far as
Let
the
me
fees
also.
and things that are generated. Oh yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue, Summit. Please. I'll say what I have to say after.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, as far as why do the fees come out of the LP? And like I explained earlier, rather than going directly to the treasury like it normally would, we just pull them out through a manual method that way and use it to pay out the
Mm.
expenses the other way there. But yeah, that was all I was gonna say.
Yeah, two things about that. Number one, there was this conversation around 1.3 million. That wallet that they're referring to still has about $300,000 in it. So the figure is, as you've been saying, a million. But the other thing that I think needs to be added to this is just understanding a little bit about the Titano auto staking protocol, right? The TAP protocol, and what those wallets, how those wallets are positioned, right? So a lot of people have asked as the price has gone down, when does the RFV or the Treasury kick in to support price? And my response has been TAP doesn't work that way. It's not like the LMS system where if a certain price gets hit, it automatically goes in and buys tokens. It's to support the liquidity pool, right? It's there, those two, the RFV particularly, but the Treasury as well, will support the liquidity pool in the event that there's a rush on the liquidity pool. So I know some of the concerns are, well, wait a second, that money is for exit when people want to get out. The money's still there in those wallets, right? So that isn't a concern. And I invite you guys to go read the white paper and understand a little bit more about how that works. But everything that you're saying is right. Those are fees that were destined to the Treasury. They got pulled out of the LP, but they were heading towards the Treasury. And big fees are taken out of the Treasury, as you mentioned. That $1 million to Unico came out of the Treasury. So yeah, hopefully that answers some of those questions. Um, yeah, but that's my 2 cents that I wanted to add, Summit.
Yeah. And another thing I know that team is working on is as far as transparency, because a lot of people have been asking about it. Um,
Mm,
what does it look like when those fees are being pulled out? So one thing we're looking into doing is potentially getting announcements or information as far as when those
right,
pullouts do happen. Now, of
right,
course, these are all things that are publicly available on the blockchain. So when they do happen, people
correct,
already see them, people already bring them up. But now it's going to be a little bit more like, hey, when it does happen, maybe we talk a little bit more about why. And you know what those expenses are being used for. Now, the
right.
biggest and most
Mm,
key thing I can say is it's not an itemized type of thing. We will just say it's going to be used for XYZ type of thing. We don't want to give away how much our moderators are making, and of course, unless they want to share that information. But it's just going to be something where, hey, we will let you know. Of course, this is what it's going to be used for, and things like that. Um, But yeah,
Right.
something I just wanted to kind of talk about and quickly let in there because I know a lot of people have been asking for transparency on that.
Yeah, and something you said also is very key, right? All of this stuff is available on the blockchain, right? There's nothing nefarious being done or underhanded being done. And it's interesting because when the conversation kept coming up, I know Julius, one of the devs, answered this question several different times to several different people over the last week. And when we were setting up to do this Titan talk, I asked him directly, I need to be more clear so that I don't misspeak or anything like that. And he pointed me to the conversations that he'd had, detailed conversations about these issues, right? So there isn't anything nefarious going on. There isn't any, aha, we found something, right? Everything's there. It's available on the blockchain. As you said, we're not going to give an itemized list of every single thing that was spent, that was purchased or spent on. But the big things, in the areas, we certainly will talk about that, and you guys will get more information about it going forward.
100%. I don't think there's anything more that we went or should go over on that because I think we covered most of the stuff or most of the questions that were revolved around that. I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to add on as far as the transparency and fun section of everything here.
This is all under the heading of transparency, right? There will be more of it. There will be more communication. I've talked about that. I know it's been a little bit inconsistent, but that's just a product of our being stretched right now. That's not a product of not wanting to provide information. But some of the things that we are putting in place, like for instance, we're about to bring on the Titano marketing guys. That's to be able to provide more information, more direct communication to the Titans, more insight into what's going on. So take some time, right, to put these systems in place in order to provide these things, but they are moving forward. So yeah, and we're and
Yes.
we're happy to do it.
Yes.
Mm,
Awesome. All right. As far as next section, I guess we can move on into the marketing side of things here.
let's
Um,
do it.
Now, as far as marketing goes,
Mm,
we've talked about it in the past. We have our marketing agency team and our internal like Titan marketing team here.
right.
Now, today we have the excitement of bringing on board our internal marketing team so that you guys get to go ahead and meet both of them, I should say, and get a little bit more information. They can introduce themselves, kind of talk about what they're working on, things like that. So I think I'm going to bring them up first, David, and then we can talk about some
Okay.
marketing stuff in general. Does that sound good?
Excellent, man. Let's do it.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so to the stream, I'm going to be bringing up Triton and the Impossible Machine over here. Welcome, guys, to Titan Talk. Happy to have you guys on here.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Hey, Triton.
Hey, excited to be
Impossible.
on the on this
Hey, David. Hey, Summit.
episode.
How's it
Hey.
going, guys?
All right.
So
How's it
excited
going?
to
How's it
be
going?
here.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you guys for coming. And yeah, we wanted to give the Titans a chance to kind of meet you guys and, hear a bit about your background. I'll tell you my story with both of them. So I was contacted initially by each of these guys separately about ideas that they had for Titano, marketing ideas. And we worked for quite a bit of time uh, getting those ideas more refined, me giving them more insight. And I deal with a lot of people that have marketing ideas, Titans, but I really like these guys because they were consistent, their ideas were great, they were hard workers, they were passionate, they understood the project. And as importantly, I felt like personality wise, these guys would fit into the existing team. Remember, when you're building a team, um, uh, when you're building a team, one core factor is how is everyone going to work together? How will they all, when you add these new elements, does it work? And we've been Summit, myself, John, the devs and a few of the other mods. We've been working together so long that there's a flow that happens. And so part of it was to make sure, okay, can these guys fit into the flow of what's going on? Can they add things that are going to be, accepted? Their communication, all those sorts of things. Those were a lot of the factors that went into it. And it took some time, right? It took some time. And then, of course, it was finding the right timing. And as I mentioned, Titano's taking two marketing approaches. We brought in this outside marketing agency, whose name, by the way, we will say today. But we brought in this outside marketing agency, and what became very apparent was there were some things that the agency just wasn't ideally positioned to do for Titano. For example, the agency is very formal, right? We have to submit ideas that we want. They give us forms to do that. It has to go through the different departments. It comes around and around and around. And as you would imagine, all of this takes a lot of time. Well, there's some things that we just need immediately, and they're just not designed to do that, right? Another important element is there are some aspects of Titano's marketing that Titano should manage, not an outside agency. Things like building up databases and some of the tools that get created for marketing. So we needed to bring that in-house. And so with these things in mind, the idea came around where, hey, maybe we need to build out our own internal marketing. And so the guys are on board. They're doing a great job. And yeah, I'm gonna give you guys. I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of that, but I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk. So, Triton, how about telling us a little bit about yourself and and how you got here?
Yeah, for sure. So, hey everyone. So I go by Triton, and I integrated the Titano internal marketing team recently. And so here's my background. So I've always been interested in art and music, and always wanted to work remotely from anywhere, basically. And so I got my first client in freelance at 12 for an indie gaming company, to work on some 3D models for their game. I made a bit of money at this age, which allowed me to buy my first camera, and so it helped me really get into the that entrepreneurial mindset early in life. And so I started making music around the same age, and I toured a bit from time to time under my name Triton. But what really got me into marketing was the fact that I always asked myself how to get more attention on the internet. Sorry, to get my music out there. And so I started doing ads about 5 years ago to promote my music. It did extremely well, and so with a friend of mine, we launched our own music marketing agency. And today we're working with pretty big labels such as Universal Music, Sony, Warner Bros. For some of their artists, and I do all the ad creation. I mean, all the ad creatives and the campaign creation for them. Um, and so I also worked for a pretty big company here in France as an assistant communication manager, where I did the creation of flyers, newsletters, so by email, the creation of some logos and posters and Facebook ads campaigns for them. Um, but even though I was what I was doing was interesting, I didn't really like the way it worked. People worked there because it was way too corporate for me. So I stopped everything to focus on my music career and make the most out of it for a year. And so in one of the Titan Talk AMA, I talked about some things which I saw could be done to help Titano, such as integrating tracking on the website to help retarget visitors, which could be potential holders to help them convert, and a lot of other small things which compounded makes a difference. And so we decided to move forward recently after a lot of calls to make sure that I was the right fit for this kind of position, and we concluded that we could make this work.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
Also, we should say that that's Triton's music that you hear that now opens Titan Talk.
Oh no, no, it's not mine.
not, not his. Well, I will say one thing.
It's
And
not your
you,
music?
you beat me. You beat me to it. Well, he chose the music, and I said it was
Oh,
a great
chose it.
idea.
Sorry. I like it. I thought you
Speak.
wrote that, man, but good choice. I love it. I love it.
And I was just
It's
about
the
to
kind of
say,
First
music I
music we
make,
get to
but
yeah,
it wasn't mine.
yeah. I was gonna say
Well, he's
Triton
a
is the
great.
one who you take a look at the overlay and everything here, and you saw that countdown.
Right.
It was so funny because we pushed back the Titan talk, and then I just get a message because Trade, you were like, I don't know if I'll have enough time to get a countdown. And then all of a sudden he sends me a message. Does this song sound good? I'm like, yeah, this sounds pretty hype. He's like, all right, it's done. The countdown's done. I'm sending it to you in 5 minutes. I'm like, whoa, what? And I guess it just goes to add on, like when we're talking about that, you have the team that can get it done in a snap second, that internal marketing team. That is these guys here. We needed
Got it.
a new countdown, and they got it done in 15, 20 minutes, which is awesome.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The marketing company would have needed a week. So with that being said, thank you, Triton. With that being said, the idea is to build, this team with different skill sets and different mindsets. So as you see, Triton is very entrepreneurial. He started his own marketing agency. He knows he's an on the ground, hands-on kind of a guy. If you look at the announcements, a lot of the stuff that's going out now, that's Triton creating that stuff, right? Getting all the colors right and getting all of the feeling and mood right and making things look a bit more exciting. And that stuff's also going out. And then we have Impossible, and he is much more of a structure guy and an analytics guy. And so he's helping to build out, the structures around the marketing, the internal marketing. So I'll give him a chance. Impossible, please, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself and how you got here?
Hey, David, thank you so much. Hey, Summit,
Hey.
Triton, and to everyone who's listening, thank you so much for having us here. So, just a little bit of a background of myself. I've been an entrepreneur for the past 10 years, and I've always been fascinated by the idea of business, of basically taking an idea and making money out of that. And that has always been something that has fascinated me. So I always tried different things. I had a few businesses, tried them, failed, learned a lot from it. And then I got into the world of digital marketing where you could always look at data and understand what works, what does not, and optimize what you're doing so that you could generate revenue. And there's always a metric that could be attached to what you do. So that fascinated me, and I was very curious about the finance side of things and how you basically make money. How does the dynamics of that work? And I was really fascinated by this, and I discovered crypto within in the past year, and I looked into a couple of projects. I invested in some, lost money, just learned from that. And then towards the first quarter of this year, I discovered Titano, and previously I found Olympus Dow, and I was looking into investing into it, but I was on the Discord groups for a while. I liked the project; it was good, but I wasn't feeling it. With
Mm,
these things, you've got to feel it. You got to know, you got to vibe well.
mm,
So when I discovered Titano, my first instinct was, it was honestly, it was a large APY that got me. I was like, damn, man, this and 1 million in a year from $1,000. Well, that's unrealistic, and that was a whole lot of things. But hey, got to do it anyway. So I got into it. I invested. I got into the community. I saw everybody's talking about, and everybody's so positive and so pumped, and it was this one Titan talk that I was listening in with David and Summit and Austin, and all you guys were together, and Triton posed a question because I was looking at this was around the time where we did the the Dex launch
mm,
of Switch, and when we had to move liquidity from PancakeSwap to Switch, and the whole drop happened. So this was right after that when you guys were having a Titan talk, and I was thinking, it was like I had some ideas on how we could market Titano and how we could take it to a wider audience, and not just even the crypto community, but even because there's a wide group of people who are still not aware. Like to them, they still think Bitcoin is crypto, and it's such a
mm,
such a such a wide industry which they need to. And there's a huge opportunity there where if we could grab in that audience and educate them on what exactly it is and what to look for, how to protect yourself against scams and all of those things. So when I was listening in on this Titan talk, and then I heard Triton pose a question, and he was having a chat with David, and I was thinking, okay, right, this guy's got the same kind of ideas that I had as well, and I opened a conversation with him after the Titan talk, and we just chatted and we discussed and we kind of put our ideas together, and we saw like how we could bring our individual strengths and combine them and see how we could develop Titano and take it to a much bigger scale.
Mm,
And so I sh- wrote a message to David, and I had a chat with him, and then we discussed a lot of things over, I think, over the period of 6 months, and then we did this in-depth research of the crypto market, and we put together a strategy, and we looked at how we could use this data and how we could leverage data, because I'm a data analytics guy, right? I'm always looking at the numbers. I'm always looking at, because the numbers don't lie. You got to look
mm,
at you look at what, because the numbers will tell you, the behavior of people, of how everybody is doing what. So that's important metrics that I felt that we were not gathering at the time, and that we needed to streamline and structure into a systematic way so that we could take that and scale Titano. So yeah, so that's how we got here. I fell in love with the
mm,
project ever since, and it was even more than what the APY or the project could offer. It's the guys, you know what I mean? It's
mm,
the team that we first were introduced through to David and John, and how we just vibed, and
mm,
that's very important in terms of working together. And like David said, in terms of the other marketing company, it's at a different level, where their business is at a point where you've got systems and structures and all of these things in place, where that's what, well, it's probably what they need at this point in time,
mm,
and how you could systemize your business. But I think for Titano, where we are at right now, it's different. It's very ad hoc. Things need to move fast. Things need to, we need to go through. So like I would say, in any business, you always have three stages in which it goes through. Even any startup, you always take the nailing stage, the sailing stage, and the scaling stage. So
mm,
we are kind of in between the nailing and the sailing stage. So it's having that understanding of where the business is at, and how you could adapt to where it is at right now, and work around that and work with that dynamic, is what will be able to make something successful, and then progressively scale it. So
mm,
that's what we're looking at, in terms of not just understanding Titanium from a marketing standpoint. It's from understanding it from a business standpoint, because at the end of
mm,
the day, it is business after all. It's in a new space, in a new industry, in a very growing industry. So it's understanding the dynamics of the industry and the dynamics of the project, and how we work
mm,
around with that. So yeah, so we're
mm,
super
mm.
excited to be here and to take this project to the moon.
Thank you, man.
Love it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting because initially I had interaction with Triton, and then he brought in Impossible, and their two personalities, as you can hear, and skill sets and approaches are so different, but it covers the whole thing. We've got to have a guerrilla marketing approach, right? So it's on the ground, but at the same time, we need to have those systems in place. As Impossible was saying, there are elements that get created, or assets that get created as a result of what we do on a day-to-day basis, that we need to capture, and we need to systematize, so that as we move our marketing forward, it gets easier as it goes along. It gets more effective as it goes along. The guys have been working with the entire team now for a couple of weeks. We've started with some of the low hanging fruit, which is, as Triton was talking about, making sure that our banners and everything is both systematized. I'm sorry, wrong word, but that they're all consistent. And at the same time, there's a step up for everything that we're doing. And in the background, we're working on putting in place again these longer term things that are going to take more time, right? That end up getting applied to things like ads and social media ads and email marketing and our blog and all of those things that are underway. And they're both very, very creative. They're both extremely hard workers. I feel like we're lucky to have them because they are so dedicated. I mean, it's funny. This week we had to slow them down a little bit. It's like, okay, guys, a lot too many ideas. We really appreciate it, but let's slow this down a second, so we can start implementing some of these things. So it's really exciting. And the fact that they're Titans and got pulled out of the Titan community is just a huge bonus, Summit. It's just
Oh
massive.
gosh, yeah. I was pulled out of the Titano
Yeah.
community.
Hey, man,
I came.
here you go. I
I
was
came here.
too. We all
But I
were.
mean, that's what makes it
So
better.
yeah,
We all were, yeah. I mean, we have that love, we have that passion for this project, and everybody here, and I mean, that's
yeah,
you can't buy that. You can't buy passion.
yeah. This is true. And I hope what's coming through in this Titan talk is that, there's a lot of work going on, and everyone on this side is very serious about that work, and we are implementing things, in a way. Like I've said this, and I'm 100% transparent about this. We haven't done everything properly, right? We haven't done everything as perfectly as it could have been. But you also have to give Titano a little slack here because we've been in the lead chopping down the jungle, trying to figure out what's going to come up next and all of these things. And so it's a process. And with a crypto market that's just these last 6 months, it's just been crazy. Where you got these massive projects that are failing. And boy, when these crypto projects fail, guys, I mean, they go quick. FTX was what, 3 days? It's like, man, I mean, can there be like a slow motion fall rather than it's here, it's gone. And when you're in that, like I constantly say, when you're in that and you're trying to design, like a great example I always use is the lottery. When that lottery was designed, the marketplace was perfect for it, and it was designed to be like a real lottery, hard to win, which means the prize pool keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And so what happens? People start FOMOing in just because they want to win that lottery. They would never have tried the lottery before, and that's when that project was designed. But by the time it came out, we had a cascading market. There was other issues going on. Titano was having issues, and all of a sudden, it started out okay, but then it didn't follow through because of mostly because of things that were outside of our control. So in a lot of cases, it's trying to hit a moving target. And what you end up doing is you end up taking more shots, right? That's what happens when the market's here. So I try to give people that context and understanding, and timing's everything. But even with that, we're not always going to make the best decisions, but we will learn from those decisions that weren't good decisions. Part of that is, overall consistency, and part of that is overall better communication, more transparency, all of those things. I know a lot of you have been frustrated by that. And as I've said to you, it's not something that hasn't been heard. It's a question of how also, because just like a lot of people want to have information, there are a lot of people that don't have our interests at heart that want a lot of information as well. So we've got to decide, how do we deliver information? What will we deliver? When will we deliver it? I've said to you, if you look around at other projects, there was a point in time where projects were getting out our use cases before we were able to get them out, because they'd hear that we were announcing it and they'd do some cheap version of it. So we pulled back a lot on what was being said and when and how, but that's going to change. That's going to change. There will be more information. There'll be more detailed information. There'll be more interaction with you Titans, because we all believe that based on the time we're in right now, the price, the need to have you guys get a bigger and better understanding of what's going on, more and better communication is needed. So
100%.
yeah, this is under that heading. One more thing I
I
wanted
love
to
it.
say. One more thing I wanted to say with regard to the marketing, guys, and guys, feel free to chime in at all if you want. But as you know, we've got two ecosystems being formed that form one ecosystem, which is the Titano ecosystem. So you got Titano and you've got Switch. The marketing, the outside marketing company, By the way, the name of the marketing company is Ninja Promo. So you guys can do your research, look them up. You'll see they're substantial. They work with big crypto projects. It's a firm that's got, I think, 4 offices in 3 countries. We work with them on a daily basis, and they will be on for Titan Talk, hopefully next week. But don't hold me to that. So they're focusing on mostly on the Switch ecosystem, right? There's a lot of stuff going on there. The guys are focusing on Titano, right? We believe that this is the right sort of way to divide people because Titano has a lot of assets that are already created that, as Impossible said, a lot of people just aren't aware of them, right? They don't know what Titano is. The messaging hasn't gotten out to enough people, and that's people in the crypto space, people outside of the crypto space, people thinking about the crypto space. So we've got these guys focused mostly, nearly exclusively on Titano and all of the needs. And then the outside marketing company, Ninja Promo, is focusing more on Switch. Again, Switch feeds Titano. So it's not a either or, it's an and both of them work together to create this strong ecosystem. So I just wanted to say that about the what's going on with the marketing. By the way, one more thing, there is a third person who is the person that writes a lot of our articles, and we're looking to engage this person more and make him part of the Titano marketing team. So if you're on here, William, I didn't want to leave you out. But yeah, and we envision this team growing. So if any of you guys out there are marketing people, hey, please let me know, reach out to me, and I'm happy to speak with you.
100%. I love that.
Summit,
And I think it's
sorry.
oh,
Please
no,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know a lot of people always ask, like, as far as the marketing agency goes over at Ninja Promo, and finally we've given the name. So I know people are probably happy about that as well. And like David said, you can look them up, look into them. I know we've talked about trying to get them onto Titan Talks, but a lot of it too is it's a lot harder to get an organization on a Titan Talk than it is to get our amazing and incredible internal team that we have here. The goal is at some point to see if we can get, maybe 1 or 2 of the representatives on here to talk about what it looks like and what they're working on. So maybe sometime in the future we can bring and invite the Ninja Promo team onto the Titan Talk as well. But for now, of course, we have our incredible team here, Triton, Impossible Machine, both here to share some information and things like that. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I know specifically people are going to go, well, what are these guys working on? And it's a broad range of things. As I mentioned, short-term things as simple as creating banners for advertisements that we can move out quickly across the different social platforms, to coming up with social media campaigns, to longer things, right? Like SEO and creating a blog, right? And other channels that could feed into Titano. So there are a range of things that are going on, and you guys are seeing it, but you don't recognize it as what it is, perhaps. But it's all part of a larger campaign. And remember, these large campaigns are made up of little small pieces that work together in conjunction with each other to push things forward. So yeah, that's what's going on. Summit, any questions for the guys?
As far as questions towards our guys here, Impossible Machine and Triton, or
Yeah, or do you want to move into the questions section?
we
What do
can
you
move
think?
into the whole question section if you want to go into something like
Let's do
that.
it. Let's
Awesome.
do it.
All right. All right. All right. All right. I went Matthew McConaughey. I don't know why I did that. So let's see here. As far as questions go, I know that we have had a ton of questions as far as like funds, transparency, things like that, but I think we have spoken a good amount on that there. So I do want to focus on a few questions that we really haven't touched on yet. A few that I was sent, whether it be by some of the moderators who forwarded to me or in our AMA question section on Discord or people who DM'd me directly. One question I have, and David, I think we talked about this one, and if you want to tackle this one first, and we'll kind of go from there. It goes like this. How does the team plan to change the narrative surrounding Titano to attract new investors? The constant price decline is not very attractive, and utilities are not enough to get people to buy and hold. So what are we doing?
Oh, good question. Oh man, that's an excellent, excellent question, especially with the 2 guys here from the marketing, because we talk about this constantly. I've said, you guys have heard me say in past Titan talks or in AMAs that for me, if you ask me what happened with Titano, like why did all of a sudden our price stop bouncing back? It's because the narrative, we did a really, really good job initially. Yes, I'm patting us all on the back with controlling the narrative around Titano. And we were able to grow this community organically. A lot of it was friends telling friends. People educated themselves on Titano auto staking protocol, where we were going, what we were doing. And so when people got involved, they were educated. But what happened with the project is we heated up so much that we had all of these people FOMOing in who didn't care about the project, didn't care about what we were doing. They just wanted to it was Lambo time, right? And from that, we then got this bot attack. I remember Summit, oh my God, I just got rid of 1,000 bots in the Discord. And because people didn't understand what
Rough
Titano
times.
was, a lot of people fell for that scam, and then it created this negative thing. And then Pancake Swap dumped, and then Jesse Echo, all of these things. But what also was going on that I believe was even more important than that, all of these forks were coming out, and 25% of these forks, their entire marketing strategy was bad mouthing Titano. It's over. Inflation is going to kill this project. Dead. We're the new Titano. We're blah 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 blah. And what I found was we lost our ability to tell our own story, to share our own narrative. Like every conversation I was in all of a sudden wasn't about, hey, what's Titano doing? It's like, hey, I hear you guys are dying. Hey, I hear this is happening. Hey, I hear. And, the additional negative to that was when I would defend Titano, it would be, well, of course you're saying that, David. What else would you say? So I found that we were in this negative position and we weren't really able to effectively get out. Well, things have, the market's gone where it's gone, and now a lot of projects are struggling to get back to where they were. And so I've said that I believe strongly, and I know the team believes this as well, that Titano's fortunes and turning its fortunes are not going to be simply based on use cases. It's going to be our taking control of that narrative again. And so in order to do that, we needed to have a narrative. And Titano has a new narrative, right? Moving from just a rebasing token, we're creating an ecosystem, right? We're helping other projects to succeed. If you look at, and I encourage you guys to do so, if you haven't, please read the documents that got released, to the financial channels about what Switch is and how we've positioned this DEX uniquely in the space. There is no DEX out in all of crypto that is like Switch. That is a customized DEX that works with the project. It's an active DEX rather than a passive DEX. Projects come to us and they say, look, these are my specific issues, and we craft a strategy for them that helps them to grow and survive. This is what happened with Unico. Unico initially came as a project that just wanted to launch through Switch, and it was determined, this is an important project, so let's take them on as an incubation project, and let's do things that help them to survive. So, John and I work with them on their marketing and their positioning. The guys work with them looking at their code and at ways to add security for investors in that project. And then it was decided that they would be given $1 million in liquidity, right? So those different things, like the DEX is no longer just a place that's sitting there where people go to trade their tokens or projects go to, to find some liquidity. It's an active site that works alongside you as partners to bring projects along. So how do we turn this narrative around about Titano? We do things like this. We innovate, right? Titano's an innovation company, right? Titano Auto Staking Protocol, as far as I know, is the most copied DeFi protocol in the history of crypto, right? We've had probably more than 250 projects that have copied this one. That's innovation, right? You might love, you might hate, but that's innovation. So Titano's innovating. Everything we're looking at, we're innovating. We're trying to find new and better ways to introduce some things into the marketplace to stimulate people's thinking. I've been on so many different conversations with projects that are excited about where we're going and the possibilities. And some of those conversations start out with, listen, I'm not really sure how we can work together, but I'd like to find a way. And even in those discussions, we're finding some interesting things that we hadn't even considered. That happened with Unico. Unico has elements to it. I've heard the devs say this, that that they think are really, really good and potentially good for Titano. So how do we turn this around? We keep building, we keep innovating, we stay positive, we keep pushing and pushing and pushing and introducing things that show, number one, we're still here, we're not going anywhere. Number two, we're going to figure this thing out. We're going to position ourselves during this terrible market so that when things turn, people come back into this space, they're going to see a project where, man, they weathered that storm, but they came out of it a stronger project. So that's what the game plan is. And of course, with that, it's messaging. So, the two guys here are an integral part of that, right? We talk about it all the time. How do we get the messaging out so that people look at Titano a little bit differently, right? They look at it as something that they want to be a part of, right? That's what brought us all here, right? We wanted to be a part of this thing. This is interesting. This is exciting. Boy, this thing, where's it going? Now, one thing I want to add to that part is Titano focuses on simplicity as well. There are a lot of projects out there that have all these really complicated, I don't know how this works and blah, 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 blah. I never invest in a project I don't understand. That's just the way I operate. So Titano focuses on bringing simplicity in terms of its use cases, in terms of its messaging to this marketplace. We believe that the majority of investors, you shouldn't have to be able to understand every single gory detail of what's going on. And if it is an important detail, the project itself needs to bring that understanding to you rather than the other way around. It takes more time to do that. It's not as easy to do that. So yeah, sorry for the long-winded answer to this question, but it is a really, really important one. And again, as you see us working with Ninja Promo, you see us working with the marketing guys, you see the messaging subtly changing, you see you see Switch and how it's being developed. Right now, we've got another project, Unico, that can talk about Titano. One of the things I always said, part of our challenge back then was we were the only ones who were talking about ourselves. We need to build an ecosystem of partners that are getting the message out from Titano. So you're not hearing me run my mouth all the time. You're hearing other projects that are saying, wait a second, hold on, let me tell you about Titano. Do you know what they're doing? So all of these things are underway. They take time, but we're making progress with all of them. Hopefully that answers your question.
Gosh, I think that, 100% answers the question there. I was going to say, just to add on to it, I mean, part of it too is we want to also create a welcoming and exciting environment in the community. I know one thing too is we want to be open to questions. More transparency is what we're doing right now, and what we're aiming to do here. One narrative is what can we do to affect Titano? What are we doing to develop and move forward? Another thing is, how do we help all of you guys? How do we keep in communication? How do we talk to you, build that excitement, bring back everything there?
Yeah.
And I'm really excited that we're starting to get more in that going,
Yeah, man. Thank you. Some of it's interesting. There's been in every bear market, right? There's this sentiment that develops where people. I was listening today to a person talking about the different stages of what a psychological stages that people go through with their investments, right? And we're in a stage right now where a lot of people are angry, right? Because they feel like they made an investment and were quote unquote promised certain things and it didn't happen, so they have a right to be angry. And a lot of that gets shared in the socials, and a lot of it comes directly to me. I got cursed out twice this week. And what I say to people is that be mindful of what you walked into, right? You walked into a space that's volatile. Now, the wonderful part about that is that volatility is what creates the wealth. So don't be too angry, because we're at a time right now as we're watching Bitcoin get its butt kicked and crypto being played like a fiddle, by the regular traditional finance industry. It's these times and what's coming that allows us all to be positioned to win and change our lives financially. So I don't get too angry with it. And as my portfolio is down like everybody else's is in the gutter, like in the sewer, 90 something percent. And some of these are like the tokens people have been picking. This is just the marketplace that we're in. But with regard to the socials, right? I've gotten a lot of messages saying, "Hey, the mods have a hair trigger and they're banning people. They're blah 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 blah." Remember, Titans, this is not Facebook or Twitter. This is not a democracy. This is not a place where you can come and say whatever you want to say and free speech. That's a myth. Those socials are places where investors come to get updated on information, to meet each other, to talk, to blah 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 blah. And there's been some great connections being made. but those places are places to support your investment. So the moderators are trained that if anything comes up that puts your investment at risk, stop it. Figure out later if it was heavy handed, but stop it immediately, because I've been in projects that have failed because the Telegram group just went crazy on misinformation. Anyone can come into any one of those socials and say anything, right? And if the mood is, well, yeah, that's a good thing. So it has to be shut down. We all have to appreciate that has to be shut down. If anything is heavy handed, reach out to me, talk to me, or talk to John or somebody. Hey guys, listen, this is what's going on. But this sentiment of, well, they're shutting us down. All I was doing was asking questions. How you ask a question, your tone and your intent is very, very important. And a couple of you probably listening have heard me say that to you guys. It's not just a question. All questions are good. Whether all criticism is a good, but misinformation being spread, or innuendo, or gossip, or things like that, or asking a question in such a way where there's some sort of an evil intent that we've got. Well, why are you? Hang on a second. There are a lot of people here who might be easily influenced by tone, especially in this marketplace. We all have to be careful. You guys matter, right? It's all of us together here. So as we're going through this, remember where we are right now. We're in a fear stage right now, and we have to be more careful about our own communication and how we communicate. As I mentioned, you guys want answers, we want to give them to you. Can't always tell you everything you want when you want to know it, but we're going to give you more information. But please be mindful that the mods who have the most difficult job, in my opinion, in this entire project, they are on a short leash by the team to say, don't let it spin out and out of control. There is a group on Telegram that spun off. It's a bad word. And it's interesting. And this is a great example. When that group formed, it was formed because a bunch of Titans were really excited about having their own little group to offer ideas to Titano. And I'm 100% supportive of that. I went in that group. I spent a lot of time with the founders. I talked, I chatted, listened to their ideas, brought some of the ideas to the devs. And all of a sudden, I watched it turn into this, I'm trying to find a nice word, into this negativity factory. And I would go into that group, and it was just negativity and accusations and all these things based on nothing. Just a bunch of people going, well, what do you think about this? Well, I was thinking about that. And all of a sudden, it was spinning out of control. And I went in and I was accused of things and called names. And, oh, David, you don't want to answer because you don't like to answer hard questions and all of this stuff. And I was saying to them, guys, how is any of this helping you and your investment? Walk me through that part of it, because that's what I'm interested in. Not in feelings and all that sort of stuff. I'm just interested in anything that can help us. And so I challenged them to bring the group back to its initial agenda, and they wouldn't do it. And at that point, I said, I'm not coming back in this group. And in fact, I'm denouncing this group, because this group is not about Titano. It just isn't. And so what I'm hearing is a lot of those people, they're coming back in the regular group. They're saying these things and all these things. Just be mindful. As I said earlier, anyone can say anything they want to say. It doesn't make it truthful. It doesn't make it factual, right? Factual has facts behind it. And I challenge people, you've got something that you think is some underhanded or devious, let's talk about it. Let's bring it out. Let's bring it out in the open. I don't want to shove it down. No one can accuse me of, well, David didn't want to answer that question. Nope, I want to answer it. Maybe I don't know the answer. I do that all the time. Hey guys, this is what I'm hearing. Talk to me about. They've always answered every question. Not one where they've said, well, we don't want to, not too sure about that. So it gives me confidence when I hear something, especially when it's something that's inferring that there's some, nefarious thing going on, that just isn't the case. I've said it to a lot of people, and I'll say it here again. If all this was about was some long-term rug pull, these guys are idiots. There's 50 ways to drain a liquidity pool and be gone. They're still here working every day, spending money on building out this project. That's got to account for something. It has to. It does for me. It's why I'm here. So, we're on to something amazing. And yeah, all of these projects are long shots. All of them. Every single one of them. I don't care what anybody says or what you see. They're all long shots, right? Pick the project that you love based on what you see and what your personal goals are. For me, Titano's more than just about making money. I love being here. I love this community. I love these people. What we've built together. I'm proud of it. And whenever I'm in a conversation with people and they go, well, listen, man, Titano and it's blah, blah, I stop them and I go, Titano's what? Explain to me what you know. And I'll tell you what I know by being on this side of it. And invariably, every single time, the tone changes. Titano changed DeFi. Titano showed that the community has to be part of your protocol. Think about it, guys. These projects fail and everyone's gone in 3 days. Titano's down 98% and everyone's still here. It's amazing. We should all be proud of it and we should all honor it. So when I'm giving pushback to people who are coming in and saying things in the socials, it's coming from this standpoint. Hang on a second. We've been here a year. Who are you again? What are you talking about? What do you know? What have you seen? What have you been through? Those are honest responses when people have these criticisms. So we're all in this together and you guys are appreciated. And, as I said, yeah, it's all a long shot, but that's not making anyone be reluctant or hesitant to move and try new ideas. There are a lot of amazing things coming. As I mentioned, you guys will be made aware of them, right? More further in advance than you have been. And you'll see. So I'm off my soapbox now, Summit. Sorry about that.
You're good. My gosh, no, you're good. I just wanted to add on a little bit to that as well, because I think it's important that we talk about just what we see in chats, the same questions all the time, especially in the Telegram channel, where the tone of these questions are off-putting for a lot of investors. And it, like you said, it's very important that these channels are kept clean and nice and things are answered properly for investors who are new and genuine, who have concerns. But a lot of these questions that come in, the tone is very off-putting. And you have to remember that if you want, hey, as part of an investment, you want more people to come into your investment. And of course, questions, criticisms are always welcome. We always want to improve. We always want to answer things. But when it's the same thing over and over and over again, or tweaked to spread a little bit of FUD, it just causes chaos. It turns people away. We see that a lot of the times happen in the Telegram channel where it's the same exact things or specific groups that are targeting that Telegram channel. And we don't have as much control over that Telegram as we do with Discord, just because of the way the system works. So when you see the moderators, they try and point to the answers that they have. I've never seen a moderator not answer a question to the full ability that they can. Everybody's doing the best they can. They're all here to try and protect your investment. As you've said, it's not a free speech area. These are investments. We don't want to, necessarily censor things. But if there's things that are repeated over and over and over again, or messages that have, or, questions that have been discussed over and over and over again, they're not things that should be constantly brought up. They should be redirected, talked about, or in a pinned message or linked to an FAQ or something like that, where it shouldn't be getting the message spammed over and over again in the Telegram channel. It's part of the reason why I love Discord, is because I can link a channel, put all the FAQs. Telegram's a little bit more difficult with the pinned messages, and of course people can come in and spam things a little bit faster. So we're obviously looking towards options on things there. But when you come in these channels, I always will say, just keep in mind your tone. Keep in mind that this is your investment. You want to see it succeed. You want other people to have excitement and fun and happiness behind that investment. You want to see genuine questions and genuine discussion, and go in with that mentality into our social platforms. Don't go in with the mentality of, I want to do something nefarious, or just be weary or be conscious of your tone when you're asking these questions, because tone, even in text, it means a lot. It means a lot to people reading it. It means a lot to the moderators reading it. It means a lot to everybody. So yeah, I just wanted to add in a little bit on that there.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Well said.
Let's see here though. I think I got I got like 2 more questions. I know we're getting a little longer in here, so we'll probably end it off with 2 questions here, and then we'll close up the Titan talk. Impossible Machine, are you still here with me? I know we've been going on. I don't know if you're still on there.
Oh, I'm still here.
Go ahead.
Awesome. There was actually a question that was kind of directed towards you. And it was like essentially, what are we looking at as far as marketing wise? The analytics of visitors coming to the website. How are we analyzing that? What are you looking at with things there?
Mm,
So right. In terms of that, what we're looking at is we're trying to understand Titano's current audience and how many visitors are on Titano's website, what they're interacting with the most, and where they're coming from. So, from an SEO standpoint, as an example, right, how is Titano positioned in the search engines on Google and across the other search engines as well? But we're taking Google as because it's the primary search engine where everybody goes to, right? So one of the things that we're looking at is the click-through rates and bounce rates, and which gives us a clear indication of how much time users spend on our website. So, for example, we've got like a between a 45 to a 54% bounce rate, which is good, which is really good in the current market standpoint, that people are spending a lot of time on the website. So that's an indicator for us to know, okay, the things are working, it's doing what it's supposed to do, and also
mm,
in terms of what we can improve and how we can improve that experience, and also that gives us an understanding of where they are coming from. So that falls into how we're tagging our links. So that shows us who came from where and what got them to come to Titano. So these are data points that we're looking at and that we're analyzing, and how we could improve our standpoint from an SEO standpoint, and as well as how we could start running paid ads. Now, I know most people hearing this would think that you can't run search ads for crypto projects and so on and so forth. Yes, that is true, but we have designed a workaround on that,
mm.
and that is something that we're working on and which you will see in the near future.
Right. Mm. Yeah, it is good answer, man. It is yeah, there are a lot of elements. And it's interesting because when the guys put together their initial proposal, uh uh Impossible did an analyzation or an analysis of where Titano was, and from two standpoints, right? What could be improved, and then also what we would do based on this understanding, right? So, do we put ads in social media? Do we create a blog? Do we create a newsletter? And so all of those things have been looked at, and as you mentioned, from the analysis, we're now designing campaigns and project elements that kind of fill out those areas. So yeah, these guys, like I said earlier, that one of the things that we recognize when working with Ninja Promo is there's some components of marketing we want to stay in house, right? Building out a database is something we want internally at Titano, right? So doing things like blogging and a newsletter, right, and even contests that are designed around building out names, right? Those are all things that these guys are handling internally, right? There's always a setup time, and time has been spent doing that. But yeah, so hopefully that answers the question. I wanted to add my 2 cents to that too.
Love that. Love that. And I got one last question, and it was really kind of sketching the expectations of what new listings look like for Switch,
Hmm.
what that looks like in general. And I think I just kind of wanted to answer it briefly, if that's cool. Just kind of started off here. Um,
Sure.
I know myself that I'm in the talks with a few. I actually have an exciting meeting with one today, and then another meeting with another project on Monday. Kind of talk about how we can see what listings look like there. We're very much looking at getting more projects on Switch, making it easier to get projects listed on Switch and things like that there.
Mm,
But we're in
right,
talks with lots of projects right now. Lots of
right,
people have
right.
excitement around Switch, and part of it is, hey, now we have an insurance fund. We burn the tokens. It's a lot cheaper and easier to launch directly on Switch. So, I mean, the benefits really are all there getting to Switch. So now it comes down to talking to these projects, seeing how they can benefit from us and how we can benefit from them, what it looks like, what their plans are, things like that. It takes time, because we want to make sure that we're getting good projects on here who can represent the Titano and Switch brand, and so that we can represent them as well. As far as like how many projects does that look like, there's no set number because the number always changes. Maybe we find 5 good ones, we talk to them, and 2 of them are good. So it's a constantly evolving thing. We always evaluate these projects, the teams behind them, and see where they fit best in our ecosystem here. So yeah, I just really kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that there.
Got it. Can I add something to that as well?
Oh, please go right ahead.
All right. So with regard to Switch, right, there are 3 types of projects that can interact with Switch, right? One is projects that are existing that have their liquidity somewhere else and that have the potential to move that liquidity to Switch. So we've had several of those conversations, and it's challenging to get people to move. And so what we're doing, especially in this marketplace, right, people aren't up for like going into unknowns at the moment, existing projects. So what we're doing is we are constantly changing our approach to these existing projects. Okay, what do we need to offer to incentivize them to make the change? And everything's on the table, right? From lowering fees even lower to having a period of time where there are no fees, right? To offering additional things. Maybe the project is sort of stagnated and needs something, and we could say, hey, how about if we create something for you? So all of those discussions are going on, and it's that awful word that no one likes to hear, but is constantly in the middle of everything we're doing. It's a process, right? The thing is, we were ready for that process, right? So we're not just stagnating at no. We're like, okay, how do we turn that no into a yes? Is there a possibility? And what we're convinced of is it's going to be an individual thing. And it's the type of thing where when one goes, it'll be 1, 2, 5, 10, 20. It'll be like that. So we're constantly working on that. The second type of project are projects like Unico that start at a as a project that wants to list, and then we look at it and say, do we really believe this project, and can we, and having this project around, can it add to Titano in general, right, or Titano in particular, and add to this ecosystem that we're wanting to build? So that's what happened with Unico. So we're looking at those projects and we're closely examining them, and when they make sense, we're moving on them. And as Summit mentioned, we're in conversations with a bunch of those projects. I'm probably in conversations with 4 or 5 myself. I'm excited about at least a few of them, and they are all moving towards being on Switch, either as an incubation project or as just a launchpad project, right? The third type of project is projects that Titano develops on its own. And this might be a project where the idea is started outside of Titano, and then Titano says, boy, that's great. We're going to provide resources, which may be investment, which may be marketing, which may be positioning, which may be contract development ideas, which may be security ideas. All of those things can be added to these projects to build them. And, as I mentioned, it might start out as an idea, or it might start out as an idea that Titano starts. The strategy behind this is, I believe that you should never just go into a marketplace and expect that you're going to engage the type of customer that you need. Sometimes you have to make that customer. And that's what this third strategy is. It's, let's build, like, what would be the ideal project for our incubation program? Maybe we can't find it. Maybe it never comes to us. Let's build it. So we're going down the road with all 3 of those, and there are projects that fit those descriptions in all 3 of those categories. They're all moving towards a launch on Switch. Yeah, so a lot of work, and it's a process. And one of the things that we've learned, I think collectively and also individually, right, working on Titano and other projects and being investors in this space, is it's not just the project and the idea and the protocol. It's also the people. And for me, that's the most challenging part, right? We've got to make sure that it's the right people that we're engaging with, who are prepared to take on the job that they're saying they want to have. And that's the part that takes that for me takes the most time, and it's the most challenging of all. Who are these people? Nice people, great intentions. Do they have any background that supports the idea that they have? Have they put together a great team? Is the team working well together? Are they all on the same page? Are they consistent? Have they thought through all the issues? Yeah, great. You're going to come in, you're going to take over the industry. What happens when that doesn't happen? So talking through all of that, seeing how the lines, again, like I said earlier, making sure that their personalities align with ours. So when there are problems, and there are always problems, right? We're not running into conflict of personality issues, which destroy things. So yeah, it's a process, and it's all moving forward. And yeah, but it's the kind of a process that it's going to go 1, 5, 10, 20. So Unico was a great step. I mean, we should all be proud. We launched a project in this terrible market that did extremely well and continues to do well, right? I think you could probably on one hand name projects that have done that in this marketplace. So what we wanted to do was come out with a project and show, Switch is viable. Titano is viable as an ecosystem to launch a project. And it did one of the things that we hoped would happen, which is had a lot of people reaching out to us. Hey, can we talk to you? I've got an idea. I want to work on something with you. So that's the good news. The bad news is it's a process, Summit.
It's a process. Always is. Takes time, but we'll
Oh
get it.
man,
We got it.
yeah, but it's
We're getting
moving
there.
forward, moving forward. So the totality of all these things going on um, should get people excited. There's a lot going on, and yeah, I get depressed sometimes. I look at price and those things, but then I'm constantly reminded that this is how this marketplace works, and everything is being looked at. Everything is being looked at. And you guys should be like example. The taking down of the lottery and last block, no one saw that coming. And the guys have been working on it in the background. All right, we're going to redo this. So a lot going on, and more to come, and exciting times. And yeah, that's what I want to end on this.
Love it. Love it. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I think that kind of concludes the questions we've had. I know we try to keep this as short and condensed, but as much information as possible. And I think we've given a ton of information today.
yeah.
um, I guess we'll kind of go through. I'm just going to recap real quick here. As far as what we talked about today, we talked about new roadmap stuff. As far as Switch getting a landing page, new UI interface updates. Recently came out with
Mm,
auto text, dark mode, things like that. A bunch of new stuff coming there. Redoing lottery, redoing last block. So a lot of exciting stuff on that. We have the insurance fund coming out. More information is going to be coming out in the next couple days. Basically, a way to protect people who are investing on projects on Switch to make sure that they're not losing out on that investment. So just a nice security fund that's for anybody who's using the Switch platform there. We talked about the transparency on funds as far as how much is being used. Our upkeep of roughly 100K a month, without those one-off scenarios of paying for extra marketing or extra hired on devs, a team of 25 team members and things like that. Kind of talked about how we're
mm.
looking to make announcements as far as how those funds are used and the expenses that goes with that. And then, of course, we talked about marketing, how we brought, we have Ninja Promo, our marketing agency. We have our amazing internal marketing team, Triton, the Impossible Machine, who joined us on our call today, what they're doing and what they're, looking to go forward with on Titano. And then how Ninja Promo, of course, is working to benefit the Switch and Titano ecosystem there. I think I summarized it as best as I could
Wow.
in 30 seconds or less.
Fantastic,
But
fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, got it, man. I just want to say in closing, I feel extraordinarily fortunate to, have been a part of this project for a year. It feels like a dream, a year. My gosh, who would have thought? But through it all, it's been the support of a great community that's allowed us to get here, and that's not lost on anyone. Every conversation, major conversation about what happens next is based around benefiting this community. You guys are appreciated. You guys are understood. You guys are heard. And yeah, the mood sometimes gets a little tense because of where things are, and as I mentioned, the stage of things. But just know that that there's nothing but good intentions aimed at the Titans. And so, you guys are appreciated. Any of your questions, your comments, your criticisms are all welcome. As Summit said, please, be mindful of tone because things can just spin out of control. Like I said, I saw in that Telegram group, that spin-off Telegram group. And by the way, I went to the founder and told him, look, man, get this under control because those environments also are ripe for scammers and other things and people coming in from other projects. Like I challenged them. I said, how do you even know that these people are Titans in here saying all these negative things about Titano? How do you know? Why would you FUD your own investment? That doesn't make sense to me. And what I got back was, oh, you just don't want to answer tough questions. Okay, so you don't really know if they're Titans either. So, all of that stuff is a part of this. But what we're doing is keeping our heads down and doing everything we can to move this project forward, for the benefit of the Titans. So again, you guys are appreciated. Your faith in us, and you're constantly being there through the tough times. I want to thank Possible and Triton for reaching out to me. I built a great relationship with these guys. I respect them as human beings. They are hardworking. They're smart. They get it. And they brought some great ideas that are being implemented, and you guys will see them more and more and more. And they love the project. So we could not have hoped for more, and we couldn't have been lucky in having them. As I mentioned, we're building out that team more. Ninja Promo's been great. It's a big marketing agency, and they're slow and deliberate, but they've also done some really great work with us, and continue to do more and more and more and more. So great things are happening, and yeah, and anything additionally, you guys, I'm always available. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. And yeah, again, on my final note, you guys are appreciated.
Yeah. Love all of you. Thank you so much for coming. Sorry for those of you who I took up the World Cup time, but hey, Netherlands is ahead by 1. USA is 0 right now, for those of you wondering.
Wait, what?
I'm
Say it
depressed
again.
about that. Netherlands is ahead. They got 1 goal. USA is at 0 right now. Just for any of those who
Oh,
are waiting for who are watching the World Cup or missing the World Cup right now.
right, got it.
But
Titan,
no.
Triton or Impossible. You guys have anything you guys want to say?
Nothing in particular, just other than we appreciate everyone who's been sticking with us throughout the project, and in the days ahead we are going to, so like even with our marketing, it's not just we do something and then we just throw it out there. It's always, even we always take it to the community. We always hear your feedback, and we need your support as well, in taking the
Right,
project forward. That
right.
that's what it is.
Oh, one thing I wanted to add to that. One of the things that the guys are working on is contests and other things that engage you Titans more. So you're going to start seeing more and more of that as well. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
exactly.
just kind of piggybacking what you were just saying, Impossible. Yeah, that's part of the strategy going forward. How do we engage the Titans more to help us market? A lot of you have been asking us for that. So that's definitely in the game plan, and you'll see more and more of that. Triton.
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, so I wanted to say I'm very glad to be a part of the Titano team, and I'm excited to see where we'll go together.
Mm,
Awesome.
thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Summit, always a pleasure. Appreciate you being here, man. Even though we know you've got COVID, just you are amazing, man, and you're appreciated. Thank you for all of this, setting this up, running it, working with all of us to get all the questions prepared, and this whole thing is so much work that goes into doing one of these Titan talks, and you're right at the heart of it, and you always take it on and do an excellent job. Thank you, man.
I appreciate it,
Thank
but
you.
of course, thank you and everybody who's here as well. Thanks to the team and everybody. They give me all the resources
Yeah.
that I need and all the help and all the chats. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thanks to
All
the
right,
team, also
guys.
John and the guys, and also the mods. You guys are doing a great job, and everyone interacting and helping Titano. Thank you, though.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye
thanks.
bye.
Take care, guys.
You guys take care.
Take
See ya.
care.